Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Prosperity Playbook. You've got Britt, Renee, and Courtney here to share some fun life lessons with you. And today we're talking about navigating adult friendships. This is something that I think we've touched on in pretty much every episode, but what's kind of fun about this is we're three different generations. We're all about 10 years apart. And so we're all kind of in different stages of our life and navigating friendships in different ways. And as women, a lot of those ways are the same, but I think that we've been navigating a lot of changes in our friendships recently. So we just want to talk with you guys about how to navigate that when things change, friendships change, sometimes friendships blow up, and what to do about it when that happens.
Yeah, I did a post on social media kind of about this the other day, and the amount of people that commented on it and were like, this is so relatable, or I have been there. I mean, it was like especially females.
Yep.
Maybe men are just more chill and this isn't a thing, but it seems like the female relationship dynamics are a little bit different. And I think maybe that's because we tackle into deeper things, and I think we feel things maybe a little bit bigger. Like we feel the high highs and we feel the low lows. So we get really close with our besties and they're our person. And then, when things fall apart or change, it hurts a lot.
And we take on a lot of responsibility too with just life in general, with our own families or trying to navigate helping a friend.
Well, I think that's a good point. I have a friend that is sick and she's got cancer again. And like all of her female friends are rallying around her to do absolutely everything that they can. And I know women by nature are just caretakers. That's what we do. I think it's actually one of our superpowers. And also sometimes one of the things that drags us down because we do too much. But I'm not saying that men aren't helpful, but I do think that it's a woman thing to like want to fix all the things.
To be a full caretaker, and that's not just like doing the chores. We're emotionally there, we're physically there, we're mentally there. It's like you're making sure that the person is whole. And I think that's what women try very hard to do for each other.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things that I've had to put boundaries on myself for doing too much or wanting to help too much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think one of the other pieces of the puzzle is we expect a lot from our friendships. I don't think men do as much. I think they're like, they want somebody to go hang out with, have a beer with, go golfing with. I think we talked about this on a prior episode about like, the two guys could be going golfing together. One of them's getting divorced and the other one might not ever ask him a question about it. And they come home and the wife's like, oh my God, how are they doing? What are they? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know any of the details. Like they just don't maybe dig as deep. And so they don't rely on their friends as much and don't ask as much, I guess.
Surprisingly, everybody tells my husband all of the details.
Interesting.
I like it.
I think that's very rare.
Yeah,
I do too.
I went to coffee with a new friend this morning and we talked about our childhood trauma and our relationships with our parents. So
there you go.
It's just different.
It is. I think you're exactly right. I mean, I have some people that I consider friends that are newly friends for me too. And it is like, we get to the deep shit real fast.
Yes.
It's like trauma bonding.
Yeah,
kind of.
totally.
So,
well, and then I think I'm in a really interesting place right now. I'm 33. And so I'm at this place where a lot of my friends are starting families, right? They're having their first kids or they're on a fertility journey. Mm-hmm. And then I have a lot of friends that have chosen not to have families, but that are very career driven and are starting their careers and like really fully job focused. And then I have friends that are still figuring it all out. And a few years ago, we all kind of had the same story where we were just, we were all drinking and having a good time and didn't really have many responsibilities, didn't have kids. Maybe, some of us had pets, but it was pretty casual. And so now I have taken a step into this next chapter of friendship. And what's really interesting is my quote unquote friends in that phase really weren't friends. Like we were friends because we were in proximity and we were doing the same things together, but we weren't friends in the sense that when I am having the worst day of my life and I need somebody that can come pick me up, I'm going to call that person and they're going to know exactly what I need without me having to say it.
I think that's a really good point because when I think back to like my high school and college friendships, it was just people I partied with.
Yeah.
Like my best friend in high school, like we talked about boys and things, but that was it.
Yeah.
And granted, most of my friends back then were men, so that could be a skewed statistic for me. But maybe that's why I had more men friends, because I wasn't looking for that deep relationships. I
Yeah,
just wanted
the
those
surface level. Like,
let's just have
keep
fun.
each other company, have a good time. Yeah.
Right.
When I came back from Mexico, I told y'all that it was so fun for me to hang out with 7 guys because there was no drama.
Yeah.
It was just fun.
I think that right now my friendships are less about sameness and more about capacity. And like, I'll pour into your cup if you're pouring into my cup. And I think that can be a little bit challenging because, I mean, thinking about my friends that are new moms, their capacity is very little. And so
Totally.
obviously they only have so much to give to their friendships. And so it's been really interesting, like figuring out how that give and take can happen with those relationships now. And I feel like my friendships today are the strongest that they've ever been because we're having those conversations around capacity and what our friendship can look like now. And, you know, like I literally went to Costco and Target with one of my best friends last week with her baby. And it was one of the best days I had had in a long time because we were just literally checking
Doing
things
life.
off of our to-do list together. And it was so nice to do that and not feel like we had to go to a restaurant or to happy hour or to a show or to, you know, go do an event. It was just, hey, let's exist in each other's space and body double for a little bit.
Right.
And your friendships, the age range gets a lot more vast as you get older.
That's a good point too. I've got friends that are in their 60s and 70s, and I've got friends that are in their 20s. It is a very weird thing, and I've got friends all over the country. I think that's the other thing is my circle has expanded substantially instead of, like you said, proximity. You know, when Lexi, my daughter, was younger, it was like we were friends with the people whose kids were in the same activities because it's just where we were.
Yeah.
We were at cheer practice, or we were at volleyball games, or we were traveling for a cheer tournament. Like those were my friends because that's who I saw, and I didn't have time for other people for the most part. But now it's like now that she's a senior and she's not, her sports are done and she's got her own friends and she's doing her own thing, and we're like, oh, no, we can hang out with whoever we want.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's
I
weird.
told my best friend last night, she's navigating helping her elderly parents right now. And I said, just give me a call if you want to talk. I don't need anything. I just want you to know that I'm here to listen if you need to just talk, you know, somebody to
That's
support you.
perfect.
So,
Well, I think that's perfect. And, you know, to your point about friends that are having babies, those friends might not be able to give a lot, but they probably need as much as anybody. And it might just be somebody to show up and be like, go take a nap. I'm going to watch this kid for the next 2 hours and, you know, or pick up their house or whatever that
or
looks
go get
like.
your hair done.
100%. Yeah. Go get a massage. You know, hey, I have a massage scheduled today. You need it more than me. I'm going to watch your kid. You go. Like, I think there was a Sex and the City episode about that one time. You know, it's
That would have been amazing.
right.
Well, and when I was going to couples counseling, something that she talked about a lot is 50-50 is bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Like it's never going to be 50-50.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, like some days I only have 20%, so I can't possibly give 50%. And I really think that friendships are like that in seasons. Like right now, my friends that have newborns, there is no possible way it could be a 50-50 friendship because they're holding on by a thread right now.
Yep.
And so if that means that in this season I'm showing up more for them, that's okay because I know that will come back tenfold in the future.
I am a big Dan Martell fan, and that's one of the things he talks about in relationships is that 50-50 is bullshit and that you both have to give 100% of whatever you have at all the time. And if you're not 100% all in for your relationship, whichever that is, whether it's your marriage or your friendship or whatever, then it doesn't work. You have to be willing to give 100% of what you can and not expect, not keep score, I guess is the point of that. You can't have to wait for the other person to give you back exactly what you're getting because it's just never going to be even. And there are times you're going to have to show up more and there are times you're going to need to take more.
So I have a friendship that she is an amazing friend in the sense that like she will always be there for everything 100% of the time, no matter what's going on in her life. And I can't be that friend. I just can't. And so
That shocks me.
something that I was struggling with is that I was feeling guilty because she was showing up for me more than I was showing up for her.
And when you say you can't be like that, what does that mean?
Like, I don't have the capacity. If
Yeah.
I have so much going on with work and with my
Yeah.
own relationship and with my family, and then I have a friend going through a really hard thing,
It's just too
even though
much.
I want to be there for them, like I have an empty tank that I'm trying to pour from. And that is kind of the season that I was in where I was really burnt out and struggling to just even keep up with my mental health. And she really needed me to be there for her. She was going through a pretty intense surgery for endometriosis and like needed me to be a good friend, and I couldn't be. And I had told her that I would be there after her surgery. And then like as the week was coming up, I was like, I don't think I can come take care of you. Like I can't. And she was really understanding and also, of course, had her feelings hurt as she should have.
Sure.
And we have had to really sit down and chat about what our friendship looks like because she's like too much of a friend for me in the sense that I'm like, I need you to show up less. And I don't think that that's a problem that a lot of people have, but we had to have a conversation about it because I was feeling guilty all the time. And because I was feeling guilty, I started just pushing her away, which also wasn't fair.
Well, I just want to take a second and acknowledge you for the fact that you did what you needed to do for yourself, because we do have to show up for ourselves first. You can't pour from an empty cup, as you said. So the fact that you were able to say, hey, I actually can't do this, and you were able to have conversations around that, that's pretty freaking awesome.
It's
and
pretty mature.
it is. Well, and I think there's two different things here. I think ongoing problems is one thing. I believe that if I called you and I said, I have this terrible emergency happening and I need you, I have a feeling you would drop what you were doing and show up. But if I did that every day, you couldn't.
Yeah.
You would be like, okay, Renee, at some
love
point you'd
you,
have to deal with
but-
your own shit.
Yeah.
But if it was like a really huge emergency, I believe you would show up for that.
I 100% would. But I mean, I think emergencies and showing up actively, as in like responding to all the text messages and
Totally.
the Snapchats and the daily check-ins, like that's the first thing that goes when I'm feeling burnt out. Like I am not the friend that will check in daily ever. I just am not.
I actually really like that, though. I mean, I think there's some of my favorite friends are the ones that I see a couple times a year, and we don't necessarily stay in touch throughout the rest of the time. Like it could be like my friend Tanda's a perfect example. We see each other maybe once or twice a year. When we get on the phone, it is like the fastest catch up that we can. It's like, okay, here's everything that's happening with me. Here's everything that's happening with you. And like, but we pick right up where we started, and there's still so much love, and there's not resentment about you didn't text me yesterday. And I have a lot of friends like that, and it kind of works for this season of my life. Although I will say I kind of miss having a best friend where I send funny memes to on a regular basis. And I've just started I sent you guys things once in a while because I'm like, somebody needs to think this is as funny as I do. And I just need this little bonding moment right now. But I'm not expecting a response. I'm not doing it 47 times a day. So I don't know. I think those things are different. My sister's a perfect example too. Her and I will go months sometimes without talking. And then all of a sudden she'll call me and she'll be like, okay, we got to talk about blah. And it might be some huge issue. And we pick right back up where we started. If she's in town, we drink a lot of wine and we like tackle all of the things. And you know, it works.
My sister and I are like that too. And then I've got some friends that I have from childhood that we don't talk to each other for years, and we can pick up right away too. Like we just saw each other the day before. But when they fly out to come to Montana and go skiing or whatever, it's always hard because I want to spend time with them. But I recognize now when I go on vacation, it's hard to go see the friends that live there.
Totally.
And I think you deal with that with Tanda too, right?
Yeah, totally. Well, something that both of you just made me think about too is different friendships check different boxes and fill different cups.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like maybe you have a friend that you send a bunch of memes to that honestly isn't even one of your closest friends, but they just enjoy that humor. And, you know, I think that was something that in my relationship, I was trying to have him check all of the boxes for everything that I needed in my relationships. And one of my besties, Nikki, was like, why can I not check these boxes for you? And I was kind of like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, why do you feel like Forrest has to be the one to do all of these things for you? And I was like, I guess I don't really know. And so I kind of started going through my friendships and realizing, oh, I can fill these cups with these other relationships.
I think there is some truth to that, but I also have a word of caution on that because I had that realization several years ago as well, and had one of my really good friends who happened to be a male friend started checking some of those boxes. And for me, it was totally normal and it was fine. But for him, it ended up making him think something that he shouldn't have. It made him think that I had more romantic feelings for him. And I was like, oh God, no. Like, but I wasn't intentionally doing that, but it blurred that line, and now it has me scared. And I'm like, well, okay, it can't be a guy. It can't be a guy. If, maybe some of my female friends can do that. But to be honest, when that situation happened, it really pushed me back towards my husband. And he's never going to be like that perfect, every single thing that I need. But that's okay.
Right.
Nobody is ever going to be perfect. No friend, no husband, no kid, no parent, no whatever. So I also think that a lot of the things that I was looking for from him, I figured out how to find within myself. And that was a big realization for me. Instead of looking for that validation or that, talk to me about your goals or whatever it is, I just needed to have some of that for myself. I needed to figure out how to truly love myself, how to truly set my own goals, how to figure out what my own why was. And when I figured all those things out for myself, my marriage grew exponentially because I wasn't looking for him to fix me, quote unquote.
Or fill those buckets.
Exactly.
I love that.
So I don't know.
But I know what you mean too, by you have a friend that will fill the bucket because they're just somebody fun to travel with.
Totally.
Or somebody fun to go to the bar with, or you're in a book club and they like to read books that you like. Those kinds of things.
Yes, absolutely. I heard somebody the other day was talking about her and her husband. They read books together every night instead of watching TV.
My husband's not going to read a book.
I literally laughed out loud. I told my husband that, and he was like, "Good fucking luck, babe." It's like,
he's like, I would never.
Oh, he would never. He hates to read. He was like, "It better be a damn good book."
I've learned my husband saying that he likes things doesn't really mean he really likes those things, because the books are piling up on his nightstand now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's just a good idea to him.
So can we go back to something? Being a great friend is easy when life is easy. But when shit hits the fan, like maybe you're struggling from postpartum depression, or maybe you're in a really tough season in your marriage, or, whatever it is, whether there's financial stress or divorce, or it doesn't matter. When life gets hard, obviously everyone wants support, but I think support can look different in those seasons. And a lot of times I don't know how to show up for people in those. And
sometimes you just need to ask if you honestly want to show up. When I was considering that part of our podcast today and thinking about when my son was 2 and I was navigating separation and divorce, and your friends had no idea at that age. It was like 33, your age.
Yeah.
And they had no idea what to do with that.
Yeah.
So they all just disappeared, and I had to figure it out on my own.
Well, I think there's 2 points there. One is sometimes you do have to ask, hey, do you need just somebody to listen, or are you looking for like actual feedback? Do you want me to help you fix said problem? Like what does that look like? So I think just literally asking that. Another piece of that is we have to be able to have the hard conversations and ask the hard questions. So postpartum is one, like that's no joke. You're probably not the person to help them with that. And I think encouraging somebody to seek counseling or therapy of some kind is probably the answer in a lot of those cases, because sometimes it takes so much on you. And especially if you're somebody that feels things really deeply, you want to fix that problem and you probably can't. So I do think that there's a component of bringing in a professional at a certain point, but being not afraid to ask the questions. Are you thinking of harming yourself? Those kind of things. In this day and age, unfortunately, I've learned recently how common suicidal ideation is.
Mhm.
And I think we need to normalize talking about that. I think we need to normalize just asking those questions to see
Yeah.
where people are at. And then if they are there, you've got 988, you've got the resources, you've got a counselor, find those things, because you can't take it all on yourself. You do need to talk to somebody.
Yeah. Something that I have learned recently too is just creating a safe space to be able to ask more questions is really important. I have a girlfriend that just dealt with some pregnancy loss that was really heartbreaking. And had I just avoided the conversation, I could have kept on that way forever. And we always would have been friendly with each other. But if you really care about a relationship with somebody, I think it's really important to be able to bust through the tension of whatever
Or the fear
thing
of talking
is.
about it.
So I just asked her, like, is it painful to talk about this, or is it helpful to talk about it?
Yeah,
Like, is it
great
okay for
question.
me to ask questions?
Yep.
And then I just bit my tongue and like sat in the silence and let her respond. And like we had the best conversation and it was really healing. And then 2 days later, another one of my friends is going through the same thing, and they have been connecting every morning,
Perfect.
which is just so adorable. And like we were all so happy about it. And we have a really cute little friend group that now can openly talk about like, how are you two doing with this? And I think that had we not asked those questions, like, can we talk about this? I think we would have avoided it because we assume that it's too hard to talk about. We assume that it brings too much pain, but I think talking about it heals you.
I think you're right. And I think, on the flip side of that, if you're the person that is too afraid to talk about it, feel empowered to do so. And if your friends are not receiving it well, then again, counseling, time to find new friends, whatever that looks like. Don't give up after the first try, because there are people that will be there for you. And, you will be surprised, even if your thoughts are really dark, you will be surprised that you will find other people that are feeling the same things or have felt them. And that is how you get through the other side. I mean, I strongly believe that's where our confidence comes from. That's who our sense of being and our sense of purpose and hope and all of that comes from, coming through the hard things. We need to know that there's always hope at the other side and get through that. And sometimes we need to be reminded of that.
And there's different forms of depression.
Absolutely.
You've got the chemical component of it with their serotonin and dopamine. And then other times, like I've only ever felt situational depression, like when my dog passed away or
Sure.
I was beating myself up for doing a bad job on something.
Yeah.
But navigating how to get help is definitely the best way to go. And
I think on the other side of that too, some friendships are not meant to last, especially if you're in a really dark place, if you are communicating, if you are asking for help and a friend is just like stiff arming you, that should tell you everything that you need to know.
yeah.
I agree with you on that. I mean, I think saying nothing lasts forever. I mean, that really is a thing. Not everything is supposed to be that way. It is, the good things don't always last. The bad things don't always last. It's a roller coaster of things. And that's how, the hard times make us appreciate the good times. And they are the ones that show you who will show up for you. I have had, we've talked about this before, where I had friends that I thought were ride or dies, and we hung out together every single weekend and we did everything together. We took all our trips together. And then when things got hard, they were just gone.
Yeah.
And I went through some very lonely times where then I didn't trust anybody. And I was actually talking to one of my assistants the other day, and she's like, "You have trust issues, don't you?" And I was like, "No, but I should."
You're like, you know what?
No, I have the
Putting that
opposite
on
of
the
trust
list.
issues. I freaking trust everybody, and I should not. But anyway, I think different people heal differently from those kind of situations. But on that note, the other thing that comes up for me when I think that is, if there's somebody that pops into your head randomly, there's probably a reason. And if you're thinking about them, just stop whatever you're doing right there, unless you're driving, but just be safe. But otherwise, stop what you're doing and just shoot that person a text. I did this the other day with actually somebody I went to high school with, and I had talked to her, I don't know, probably sometime last year, and I knew she was kind of going through a divorce and whatever else. And I I just sent her a message on Facebook and I was like, hey, how are things? I just was thinking about you, how's work? How's the family? And she was like, that means so much to me that you reached out. And she was like, this is good. This is a little rough. This is really great. But she was really genuinely moved that I took 5 seconds to shoot her a voice text, or whatever that is. And I can tell you, when I've gone through the hard things, the people that send me even the quickest little note, it matters. And if you're somebody that is in a rough situation where you're feeling like you maybe don't matter, nobody wants you around, like, that's the kind of stuff that will make you realize that there are a lot of people that will show up for you. So don't be afraid to ask when you need somebody to show up for you.
Do you ever have the situation where you feel like you're the friend who's always making the first call or the text or inviting, and then you don't have that happen? They'll even join you on the things or answer the phone call, but they just don't make the effort to reach out.
Yeah, and I think that used to bother me. And I know, like, my daughter's in high school and that kind of thing bothers her, but it's just because she's a planner and the rest of her friends kind of fly by the seat of their pants. And
well, that's good. I'm a planner then.
I am on the opposite end of that spectrum, actually, which is where a lot of my friend guilt comes from, because I am the person that doesn't actively reach out, but it's not ever ill intent. It is very much just, I'm not the planner. Like, if you reach out and put something on my calendar, I'm going to be so excited that is coming up and I'll look forward to it so much. And then,
how did I know? That's what I suggested to you before we got started today.
Yeah.
I think everybody's a little bit different in that. And I think you got to lose the ego around it. And just, if you want to do something, send a text.
Yeah.
One of the things that I don't remember if I've shared this or not before, but that I started doing was I just book a bunch of reservations at restaurants. I would book for 4 people. And I'll just block them out like every couple weeks, just pick a random time, a place we don't usually go, a new place we want to try. And then it forces me to reach out to somebody and invite them. And it has worked so well because it makes us like, well, who should we call? It makes us have that conversation of like, who haven't we seen in a while that we really want to hang out with? Because how many times do you bump into somebody casually and you're like, oh, we should get together. And then 4 years later, you run into them again and have the same conversation.
All the time.
So
I
this
made
fixes
it
that.
a goal, like one of my bucket list. I am doing this consistently, is having an intentional get together with a friend once a week. Because something that I realized was happening is I was having like unintentional bump-ins, and I would chat with a friend and quick grab coffee or something, which obviously is great. And if that happens, awesome. But there were so many friendships that I was just kind of like letting, when, whatever happens, happens. And I don't want it to be like that, especially for my friendships that are not in Bozeman anymore. Like, one of my very best friends lives in Brooklyn, and if we aren't intentional about reaching out to each other, we'll never talk again. Yeah. And we've been talking weekly. She actually is going to plan to come visit when I move into my new place, which is really exciting. But that's because we have been really intentional about our friendship. So if you can create a goal for yourself like that, and like when you're making your weekly plan on Sunday or Monday morning, add in there, like, which friend do I want to spend time with? And in that moment, shoot them a quick text and try to get something on the calendar.
And I would say, when you're thinking about who you want to spend time with, don't do it out of obligation or because you haven't seen it. Think about the people that fill you up.
Yeah.
Think about the one you actually want to spend time with, the one that's going to bring energy to your life. Those are probably the ones and the more you do that, the more you're going to want to do it more. If you reach out to somebody that is just a drag on you every single time you get together, you're going to never call again, and that is going to end up happening. So energy.
I have let a couple of friendships go for exactly that reason, because I realized it was fine every time we were together. It's not like they were really negative or did anything, but I recognized that they were energy vampires, and I would leave like a happy hour or a coffee date totally drained every single time I spent time with them. And it's not like they didn't do anything wrong. It's just for whatever reason, every time I spent time with them, I left exhausted. And so those people, I didn't like text them and say we can't be friends anymore,
Right.
but I just stopped actively
go.
reaching out to them. And
Yeah.
if we bump into each other on the sidewalk, like we'll be friendly, it'll be fine. But
100%, yeah.
I'm definitely not going out of my way to spend time with those people anymore.
Yeah,
I've had to
exactly.
get rid of them too over the years.
It's a hard thing to do. And like you said, you get some friend guilt about that. But I think you always have to look out for number one too, and figure out the more energy you have, the more you have to give back to the rest of your family and friends as well. So you have to protect that energy. And, those ones, I've had a couple of times where I've had to just let friends go because they were so, like, they would lie or they would like bitch about their marriage constantly, but like
Yeah.
you could tell they weren't actively trying to fix things. They just like wanted to complain. And you know what? That's fine. If that's where you want to be in your life, that's cool. But I am not here to just be dragged down by you being sad and frustrated, but not actually stepping up to do anything
Yeah.
about it. Like, if you want my help and I'll give you advice, I'm here for it. But if you are going to say the same thing to me over and over again, 47 times, at some point, I'm going to be out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a couple of friends that I had to get rid of too, because one would call and make plans with me. And this was back when my son was young and her child was young. And then she wouldn't even be there at all. Invite us over for dinner and then not even be there. And
What?
have no good reason. Never let me know.
That's wild.
Like invited you to her house and she
Yes.
wasn't there?
a few
That's
hours
wild
later.
behavior. That
Yes.
is crazy.
So that was, I said, I'm done with this.
That
I am
seems
not-
like drug addiction.
Oh, yeah,
something
I'm
like
like,
something
what?
more is
No,
happening there.
It was guy addiction, I think.
Oh, ew,
So,
gross.
I think she got an offer and it happened multiple times. And it wasn't just me, so I didn't take it personally. It happened to multiple of us. But back then I was drawn to women that were really strong and funny. And so
Interesting.
she filled that bucket of being fun and funny, but it got overpowered by that
Yeah,
behavior.
that would overpower. Now, guy addiction, that made me think of something here. I think one of the things my daughter struggles with a lot is friends choosing boyfriends over her.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important topic to handle. And part of me's like,
Yeah, that's what I was dealing with.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know. But I mean, if you're married, your spouse probably is going to be your number one. If you're in a high school relationship, I don't know. But like, you take a girl who maybe hasn't had a ton of boyfriends and now she has one. And when you're in high school and you have a boyfriend, you're just gaga and you are sure that they're the one. And it's just like, you can't see any other thing. And I keep encouraging her, like, just don't take it personal. Just let it happen. Like you guys.
What's really interesting about that is like as an adult, you expect your friends to put their partner first, right?
I guess,
Like,
yes.
especially if you have kids, it's like, of course, you're going to put your partner and your kids first. That's the expectation.
Right.
When you're young, you're in college, you're in high school, your friends have boyfriends, even in your 20s. Like, this is something that I struggled with is I did put my partner ahead of my friendships. And I really now looking back wish that I wouldn't have
Interesting.
because the men that I dated were idiots. I mean, to be frank, like I
We've all
don't
dated
know
our
how to pick
idiots,
them
don't
apparently.
worry.
Yeah. So, but
Married
my
'em.
friends have been there and my real friends are still here. Like regardless of the relationship, I think you can kind of tease your friends and, okay, you're choosing so-and-so above me. I see you. But like, as long as your friend isn't just completely abandoning you and you're still connected, it's okay. They'll be there. They'll be there no matter what happens.
I think so too, and I think you have to kind of pick your battles on that one, I guess, and not be offended by it, maybe.
Yeah.
And if their habit is that they want to hang out with their boyfriend or their spouse in the evening, coffee, go
Yeah.
do coffee, do lunch, do something
Yeah.
that is outside of what their normal schedule
Yeah.
is with them, and you'll find that different time. I think that still works for you, or it turns into you just do a phone call here and there, or you're sending each other memes or whatever it looks like, but. Those
Yeah.
relationships do evolve, and it's okay.
Well, and that evolve, that is the word. The strongest friendships are the ones that don't look the same forever.
Yeah.
We are all constantly evolving as individuals throughout our entire lives. So of course our friendships are going to have to evolve. So the ones that adapt, evolve, and make room for not only who you've been and who you are, but also for who you're becoming are the friendships that are going to stick.
Yeah, and I've had my same best friend since, God, I think I was, 20 something. And she used to work at the cell phone store here, and her mother was in real estate and said, "Oh, you should meet my daughter." So I walked in the cell phone store and introduced myself, and we've been best friends ever since.
That's
Aw.
literally the cutest thing I've ever heard.
And I've had people tell me, like, "Boss, why do you want to be friends with me?" And I say, "Because you're the opposite of me. And I feel like you're going to give me something that I don't have in myself. I'm going to learn how to be more holistic."
Well, I do think there is something to that. Like, it's the old adage, show me the 5 people you spend the most time with, and
Yeah.
I'll show you in 5 years. Like,
Yeah.
I absolutely believe that. Like, if you want to grow your business, if you want to have more money, if you want to have a great relationship with your spouse, whatever it looks like, you should spend time around the people that already have what you're looking for, because you will learn from them. And especially if it's financially, because they want to help pull you up too.
Mm-hmm.
People that have money want to help other people have money too, except for the assholes. But most of them really do. And that's a good thing. And I do think you find those relationships more as you get older. I mean, I do think that there's people that have had the same best friend forever. But like one of my old best friends, she had 2 best friends. She had me and she had her best friend from high school. And it was kind of like they still hung on to this relationship, even though they weren't in the same phase of life. They didn't have a lot in common anymore. And I saw her like fight for that relationship because she really wanted to keep it, even though it was very hard for them to do it. And I think they've done a good job and stayed really close, but it doesn't come as easy when you're in total different phases of our lives. But when you think about it, it's kind of like, I was talking to our friend CT this morning when we were working out, and he was saying his mom really wants him to get married, have a girlfriend. He's like, "Man, I don't know if I ever want to do that." And I was like, you know what? Younger generations are waiting longer to get married. And I think it's brilliant, because if you get married when you're too young, you don't know who the hell you are yet.
No.
And then by the time
Especially
you figure
a
out,
guy.
100%, both of you, if you guys get married when you're 20 years old, and then at 35, you've both evolved into completely different people, they might not even like each other anymore. So if you wait till you're 30, you probably have a better chance of finding a match that will last longer. And I feel the same way about friendship in that regard too. You're going to be on a totally different path, kind of like you said, and you're going to find who you are. You're going to find what's important to you. And so the friendships that you have in high school, it's okay if they don't last forever. I am not actually close with anybody that I was friends with in high school or college for that matter. It was just a completely different stage of life. And I was in my I was still a cowboy, and
Yeah.
that's just not really who I am anymore. So I just don't really have any of the same friends, because my life has gone a different direction than it was back then. And that's okay.
For some reason, growing up, I was always wanting to hang out with older kids.
Me too.
And so my best friend from high school is a few years older than me. And now my best friend here is probably 6 years older than me. I forget how old she is.
You're not
But-
supposed to tell that anyway.
No. But I had just lost my train of thought. Sorry.
That's okay.
Something that has happened recently with me is a really big reconnection with one of my childhood best friends. I don't really have any friends also from high school except this one friend, because the reason that we stopped being friends is because I completely lost sight of who I was.
Mm.
And I went through about a decade of like experimenting to figure out who I wanted to be. And I really have made my way back to myself. And a lot of the things that I now love about myself are the things that I loved about myself when I was a kid. And that's when she and I were closest.
That's cool.
And we have really rekindled our relationship. And it's really fun to be able to talk about our childhood. And I mean, like, she knows my parents' relationship better than anybody else because we were almost like siblings. And so she has firsthand seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I do really encourage anyone, like, if there's somebody you think about a lot and it's like, oh, it's been too long, it's going to be weird if I reach out now. It might
anyway.
not. Like, just, okay, so you reach out and they don't respond, you're no worse off than you were before. Or maybe you reach out and it's just like a quick hello, then okay, you can still feel good knowing that you reached out and you sent positivity out into the universe. Like, oh no, I sent a loving message. But if they do respond and you can rekindle a beautiful relationship, like it is pretty special.
I just thought of one other thing that I've done and that other friends from my past have done as well. If you had an issue or you had a falling out when you were younger and you've grown up and matured and really wanted to tell that person you're so sorry for being a jackass, it's okay to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I really appreciated when a friend did that with me, and I did it with an ex-boyfriend and said, I'm just so sorry that I was such a turd.
Well, and I think on the flip side of that, I've been the person that's been apologized to before, and I think you can take it how you want to. It doesn't mean that because they apologize that now they're your best friends again.
No.
You can still decide whether or not you want to go back to that relationship. And if the answer is no, because there were reasons like we've talked about before,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay.
Yeah,
I
I
think
didn't
it's
ask
okay.
to go back to anything, and my girlfriend didn't ask to go back to anything.
Yeah.
We're a little bit closer now, but it was just letting him know that I really thought what
Yeah.
a shithead I was, and I'm truly
I think
sorry.
that's great. And that's for you, like to have that peace in that and not feel
Yeah.
shame or guilt or whatever of
Yeah.
remorse around that. But Britt, what you just said about your friend that knew how your parents were growing up, there's something so powerful about that because there's not anybody else that's ever going to be able to understand
Mm-mm.
exactly what you went through unless they were there. And I think about my parents in that regard. Like my parents got divorced when I was 3, and my mom and my dad now are like best friends 40 plus years later. And it's really cool, but it's part of it is because they're each other's only real link to the past of like her growing up and the issues she had with her family and her parents. And he knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's a very safe place for her to talk about some of that stuff. And I think it's really cool that they have that relationship and have built it back. They know everything about each other. But there's no like pressure of having to be best friends or having to be in a romantic relationship. They just know each other and they just talk nonstop when they're together. And it's the coolest thing ever.
That is awesome, especially having them both close.
I know. Yeah.
Bye.
Circling everything back together, I feel like every conversation that we have is about communication, right?
Yeah.
Like so much of this is being a good friend is not about constant presence.
Right.
It's not about always being there 100% of the time showing up. It's about mutual respect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's not about saying the perfect thing either. And I think that's one of the things where people, especially in tough situations, we say it's easy to be a good friend when things are easy. But when things get hard, sometimes it's harder to know what to do. And we go, gosh, I don't want to call her because I don't know the right thing to say. And I'll be honest, I'm guilty of this right now. I have a friend that was just re-diagnosed with cancer. And I like signed up for a meal train thing, but I haven't actually called her. Like we've messaged back and forth, but I keep thinking like, I don't know the right thing to say. Well, that's such a bullshit reason, Renee. Like there isn't anybody that's called her that has the right thing to say. She wants to feel normal. She wants to be included. She wants to be thought of and, not have to live in her craziness of what's going on in her world for 5 seconds. So you don't have to be perfect either. And it's never too late. It doesn't mean I've missed my chance. I can still go call her right now and feel good about it.
Yeah, you can just call and say, I'm just calling to chat.
Yeah.
Some of the
You
best
just leave it.
conversations that I've had with this breakup are people calling and saying like, hey, you're going through it right now. And just like immediately laying it out on the table and we can laugh about it.
Mhm.
And it's because they didn't say the perfect thing. They
Right.
didn't call and they're like, oh, I have this wisdom from Buddha that I'm going to, it's like, no, they just call and they're like, damn girl, like, are you wine drunk? It's 2 PM. It's
should be.
kind of, yeah, exactly. Like, I
You're going
think
through
just
some shit.
be perfectly imperfect. And that's all we need from each other.
I love that. I think that's a perfect way to kind of segue back into just tie a big bow on and just say, none of us are expected to be perfect, but it's the little things that mean a lot. That random text, that
Yeah.
random call. I like to call, like if I'm in my truck and I, as you probably maybe know by now, I don't leave my house very much because I'm kind of a hermit, but if I'm in my truck, I'm usually calling somebody.
Yeah.
And it might be one of my parents. It might be a friend. It might be a real estate agent that I work with, but it's a perfect time where I'm not supposed to be doing anything else other than driving. It's a perfect time to just take a few minutes to check in with somebody.
Yeah. I'm going to give everybody listening a challenge to call a friend this week,
I love that.
somebody you haven't talked to in a little bit. Well, we're going to be chatting in our next episode about procrastination and some different tips and tricks on how to not be a procrastinator.
I'm going to learn from this too.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
if this has been helpful, please share, please like, please subscribe. We're here to help. We appreciate you listening. Thanks for getting this far in.
Here's to empowering each other one story at a time.